Yo, what's good? It's Skano from the gutter. So let me get this straight. I'm running across content where white Americans, for the most part, are saying that FBAs, Black Americans, you know, we have to, speak out against what's going on, in Palestine, you know, with Gaza, as far as this genocide that's being committed on them by Israel. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I see what's going on here. Because I mean, if you know, you know. You speak out against the Jewish community, and you run the risk of being canceled, targeted. But so we supposed to be the moral barometer for the entire world now. I mean, because let's be honest, when it comes to morality, it's not as if white America is the standard, you know. So I'm guessing that's the premise behind this logic. Our words would have more, you know, more resonance. We can understand their plight, these Gazans, you know what I'm saying, to some degree. And who else better to speak out against what's going on there? So now we the moral police of the world too. How much that pay? Not saying morality should come with a price tag, but it damn sure come with a cost. So once again, if I'm getting this straight, and I'm not sure if these people are trolling, if it's satire, or if you're really serious. So once again, we are to run interference for another demographic of people who could give us a second thought. I think we'll pass on that. I was talking about the transferal of wealth. This transferal process is real, and I'm talking about these private equity firms. Let me show you all what's going on. In light of the Maga members, the white farmers who have flooded the internet, people that are losing their farms, losing their property, losing everything. Some of these people, majority of them, generational wealth. Property, farms that have been in the family for generations, gone. You know what I'm saying? And there was a two-step process to this. Obviously, the first part being this deportation situation. You remove the workforce, and you double down with these tariffs. Now, I told y'all this dude don't understand tariffs. Gone are the times where the U.S. government can push people around and bully people into their policies, because we were the big dog economically, about 100 years now. But that's no longer the case. So this tariff war, where Trump thought he was going, like I said, push China around. And his reasoning behind the tariffs in the first place was even his logic being that, well, China actually owes us, what? We should slap a tariff on China. They should be paying us extra. Even though we, 37 million trillion, let me correct that, 37 trillion in debt to China, they owe us. This is his logic. So what does China decide to do? So the soy, because we was China's main supplier of soy, they went around this. They deal with Brazil now. They're written up contracts. These contracts probably was already in the stash, ready to pull out. So Argentina, Brazil, they're now our main supplier of soy, beef, pork. China is finding other people to do business with. So the whole tariff thing backfired because you put a tax on us, the American citizens, We already in the middle of a recession, you know. So you compound it with this, and the fact that the agricultural industry right now is collapsing. All these goods, you know, just spoiling away, just rotting. Nobody to pick them, nobody to ship them to. So you see the situation now. So these farmers, they don't know what to do, man. You know what I'm saying? They like I said, they losing everything. And guess who's swooping in to buy it? Now I was talking about how Trump is a puppet for these elitists, and this shit is all about a monopoly now. You know, when I heard about Blackstone, this private equity firm, and they handle people, they pretty much run every major corporation's financial systems. That's what these equity firms do, you know. So these major companies, they look to these equity firms when anything like now, a recession, anything economically going on, they look to these firms for advice, and pretty much the entire system's being controlled by these equity firms. So now you got places like Blackstone, you know, buying up utility companies, which I said never happened before, you know. So lo and behold, these farmers, man, American citizens, and like I said, these farms been in their possession for generations, are being bought up by these private equity firms like Vanguard, Front Street, you know. So if you think this is not all intertwined, now I'm not saying it was all a big play, even though I'm gonna be honest with you, it's starting to look that way to me. But using Trump, and like I said, whether knowingly or unknowingly, I think both, because dude is not the most politically, you know, sophisticated. I don't know if y'all ain't noticed this or not. He's the perfect candidate. I've been saying this, because he caters to the elitist. He always has been for the rich. So, but his lack of political savvy is the unknowing part of it. You know, certain policies he putting into place that's just hastening this process. These big corporations, like I said, Vanguard, BlackRock, they are buying up everything. They pushing out small business owners because they want to make everything a global monopoly. That's what we're moving toward. So if y'all think I'm a conspiracy theorist, no, I'm just reading the writing on the wall. So, yeah, they swooping in, buying up these farms, you know, properties. And it's the transfer of American citizens. The wealth transfer is in full effect. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's all about design. So what you're going to have from utility companies to the medical field, the agricultural industry now, owned by these big corporations. And you say, well, okay, well, what? But see, when you push out all the small business people and you make everything a monopoly, that pretty much destroys the competitive balance. You know what I'm saying? That means they set the market. They say, you pay this, and that's what you're going to pay. You know, there's no more shopping around, and it's going to be a global monopoly. So if you think housing cost, you know, the cost of fuel, you know, you see how they playing games with the medical, as far as these pharmaceutical corporations are now being privatized. That been happening, you know. So they're going to be determining what you paying for medicine, housing, you know. I'm talking about one big global monopoly, you know, or a few, which they all work together, you know, controlling the cost of food, everything across the board. You know, that's what this is moving toward. And the thing about it is, MAGA members y'all really thought y'all was standing on business. And this is not, I know everybody that voted Trump is not a racist. Black people voted for Trump too, you know, and you just fell for the woo-woo, man, you know, and that's usually how this shit works. because we think all this time our country's actually being run by, political, a democracy, when it's actually controlled by these corporations. They lean on the politicians. They get policies and laws passed that benefit the corporations, who benefit the elitists that own them. That's what this is all about, the transfer of power and wealth from the common people to the oligarchs. This is an oligarchy now. So I can understand, their plight. And this is not just about red hats and blue hats. This is about American freedom in general. And you can see where this country, what direction this, I told y'all, we all, the 97% of us that are not elitists, are slaves to these corporations. So, as I said, man, we're headed for fascism. And Trump was the perfect instrument, the perfect device for the elitists to use. So, as I said, as I'm seeing, all these white farmers, talking about it, it just blows me that 8 months ago, many of these same people, like I said, y'all had your torches, y'all was fully behind this. From the deportation aspect of it, you just didn't read between the lines. But we just common people, But some of us saw the play. We saw the play, and I said these elitists, that's who our government is sold out to. Whether, like I said, intentionally or just a product of, because America is on the decline. Anytime your debt and your GPD is far below, what you are, because we don't export. Our main export partner was China. You know what I'm saying? So this cut the legs right from under us. And that's why I say this dude does not understand political. I don't know what his advisors are doing. Maybe he don't listen to them, But yeah, this is so. I don't want to turn around and say this is what y'all voted for. Is some people call this divine karma. Because let's be real. A lot of these same people, that was commissioning this whole deportation process, y'all didn't understand how this was going to work out. You deport your main workforce, and I was hearing a lot of people say, well, it's going to be some short-term sacrifice, but we looking at the long game, our future generations. Many of these same people now are saying they have nothing, generational wealth gone, based on, the last few months, what has happened, these tariffs. So this is what happens when you're not politically savvy and you base, your vote off of, primal instinct, prejudices, hate, racism, when that's your core value system. So you see how this working out now for y'all. And as I said, it's not a case of, how high you got, because as I said, we are going to foot the cost for this whole tariff war. American citizens. That's why your eggs cost $12 a carton. That's why gas is still $4-5 in a lot of places. This liar, he says gas is less than $2 in some states. That's a goddamn lie. So don't fall for the woo-woo. But it's too late now for many. So as I said, man, he's an elitist puppet, and he's doing exactly what he was put in place to do for the elitists, as far as the American people are concerned. Get ready. Get ready for a long, cold winter. 216 Scano, you already know.